told one day that the financial director had stole $17 million. So marketing doesn't exist anymore. Got a daughter wants to go to university, got 4 kids, got a mortgage. And so I had to create something.
Welcome to Beyond the Numbers, the podcast where we take the stress out of business finance and break down the numbers in a way that actually makes sense. And today is our very first guest interview, and I'm absolutely thrilled to be speaking to him. I'm joined by someone who embodies the very essence of grit, innovation and impact. Dean Jackson, founder of HUUB. Now, if you're in the triathlon world, you'll already know HUUB. It's the go-to brand for performance wetsuits and cycling gear, worn by Olympic champions and weekend warriors alike. But what you might not know is that HUUB started not in a flashy office, but on Dean's kitchen table, after he's lost his job at 40 and was told he was too old to be hired again. Dean didn't just bounce back, he disrupted an entire industry. He built a brand rooted in science, authenticity and storytelling. This episode is about what's behind that journey, beyond the press releases, beyond the medals, beyond the numbers.
Who are you talking about there?
You!
It don't feel right, does it?
Does it not?
No, not at all. Not at all.
And that's what's the incredible part, I guess. And we were talking about earlier in terms of there's so many accolades, there's so many things that you've achieved, both in terms of the business, your MBE, the Queen's Award, you know, seeing all these...
I'm going all cold now. And yeah.
But before all of that, who was Dean?
A really good question, actually, because I discuss this a lot with people, and there's 2 sides. There's Dean and there's Dino.
Okay.
And Dean is the kid who grew up in Ulverston and then moved to Mackworth, and he's quite shy, believe it or not. Would never be seen on stage doing the caterpillar or any silly dance things, and quite introverted.
Okay.
But then I soon found out when you're in the business world and when you need to be the front of a brand, you're almost someone else, and so that's often where you'll see Dino pops up. So if someone shouts me or to shout Dino, I go, okay, I've got to be as enthusiastic as I can be today, even with a big hangover. I've got to be on the game. But yes, that's Dean. Dean is a two O levels, a GCSE and a cycling proficiency badge is the way I put it. Love sport, love trainers, and grew up in the exciting world of where we had Kay's catalogue and Burlington's catalogues, and we go through it and just get excited about things we never had. You couldn't easily go and touch and scratch and sniff things. And TV advertising influenced us, and science fiction influenced us, and there's so many things around us that shaped what we thought and our opinions. And that's me. I just love it. If you come into my office, it's full of toys and things I probably didn't have as a kid, or I didn't want to have them again. So I'm a big kid who has the delight to play in big kid world of sport. And yeah, it's brilliant.
That sounds amazing. And how did you get to the point? So obviously you'd had a really incredible career. So after you got your 2 O levels and your cycling proficiency bag, you then kind of forged yourself a world in kind of wetsuits, triathlon, you know, the biking and obviously trainers as well. What led you then to HUUB? And I kind of alluded a little bit.
Yeah, well... If you go back to the beginning, when I left school, I was going to be the UK's first male nanny with the NNEB qualification. So I was probably putting myself out there a bit. And after a year, it just didn't work out. And I wasn't really welcome in that world. It was a female world. And I think had it been today, it'd have been a lawsuit around it. So I set up a running shop with a business partner, the Derby Runner, and that got me into that whole world of sport. I never had a pathway into endurance sport. That wasn't where I was going to go. I ran for Derby, and I took up this strange new sport called triathlon. So being in the business side and not knowing the numbers in the business side and being very naive to the numbers, my business partner wasn't as fair as he could have been to me. Okay. So I had to leave that business after 2.5 years with one great big lesson of know the numbers, which is, there you go, and here we are with Miss Numbers herself. So yeah, several brands. The pinnacle for me was head of marketing for a sportswear brand called ASICS, or ASICS, as some people may say. Best job in the world, looking after the athletes, designing product, working on product, sponsorship globally. I used to commute to Warrington every day. I was 28, had a 5 Series BMW, lowered, clear headlights. I was pimp daddy, you know what I mean? And then to be told one day that the financial director had stole $17 million, so marketing doesn't exist anymore, was hard hitting. And then I had to start a journey of create a business and then get back into corporate again. So it's been a yo-yo since ASICS. And then you get to the point of the last role was with a wetsuit company based at top of Green Lane. We had an office up there called Blue 70, which is a New Zealand outfit. And the MD I kind of knew it was coming. We just weren't getting on. And the MD said, I think we'll part ways. And that's when I went and applied for jobs. And you realise how old you are at 40, which is crazy, right? Mm-hmm. My CV was back to front. I didn't know whether you had the old job first or your latest job first. I just told kind of the world has moved on. So it's like, Christ, I've got a daughter who wants to go to university, got 4 kids, got a mortgage. Necessity. And it was just like, and so I had to create something. And so I just sat down with a piece of paper and just if I could build something, what would it be built around? And who was going to be built around cutting the bullshit out of the industry? Because you see all these sports brands and they say they test this and they're scientifically proven of that. And they're not. Otherwise, their product won't be that crap. And so for me, it was building a brand that was honest in all of its innovation, in all of its research, all of its numbers, all of its presentations. And then you can stand proud. And I really wanted to stand proud and just say, I've created a product that's the fastest and here's the numbers, X, Y, Z. And if anyone wants to throw stones at me, I'll throw bigger ones back because I've actually surrounded myself by really smart people. That was another lesson as well. Yeah. Get really smart people around you because I'm not smart. But I probably got a skill at finding the smart people and bringing them in. So back to a really long answer to the question there. It was desperation and how do you feed the family? Because, I see my role as a provider and look after everybody.
Got you. And that must have been quite a terrifying time, though, to then go into setting up a business, which is challenging, on the back of also thinking I've got to make my mortgage payments and I've got to be able to support my daughter through university. Yeah,
it really tests your mettle. I'm not talking on stereotypes, but just as a dad. And I grew up where my dad went out and worked hard and mum was at home. And right or wrong, that to me was a model to replicate. And it was scary because it's down to you. And you can't point and go, it's someone else's fault or they didn't help me. It's up to you. This has to work. And when you put your business plan together, and I brought in some help on the numbers, who let me down on one column that didn't add up, and they spotted that in the presentation. But put me in front of 1,000 people, and I'll talk all day about whatever you want. But when it's 12 individuals who've got your future in their hands, which was the scenario in Nottingham, God, that was scary. That was as bad as dancing in front of 500 people. That one was really scary. Because everything's on it. It's not a sales presentation where you might get an order. It's not a design process where a product may come out at the end of it. It's actually your future. And if this doesn't work, where do I go next? So it's scary as hell. Scary as hell. And then so the process was I went to see this group called Turning Point through someone who's become a great friend, Mark Dolman, who was at Deloitte at the time, but now he's a business advisor. And Mark said, come and meet my mate Tom. And I presented to Tom this business idea for a triathlon brand at Denby Tea Rooms. He liked it. He said, right, next Tuesday you're presenting in front of 12 investors. I was like, oh, shit. But I say it all went well until one of the guys who's actually now on my board, he says, Dean, page 28, third column in doesn't add up. And I'd asked a really skilled accountant from Boston in the States that I knew just to help me with the numbers. So they said, what do you have to say about that? And then you're like, I bluff it or do I just come clean? And I just came clean. I went, it's not my skill set. I trusted somebody, they let me down. I won't use them again. He went, oh, great answer, carry on. So thank God for that. But at the end of it, they said, we're going to give you £25,000. You've got some big headlines to hit. And if you hit these headlines, we'll give you another 100 grand of working capital. We're going to be, I think they ended up being 44% shareholders in the business, which is fine. They can take whatever they want. They're helping me get off the ground. And, shake your hands, go and do the paperwork with Tom, and here you go.
Wow. Yeah. And I guess that takes you back to that authenticity piece, though, again, that actually you stood in that moment and went, this isn't my skill set. This is why I'm going to surround myself with important and people that know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And okay, sometimes people fail. And you've got quite a good ethos with the failure side of things, though, haven't you, from that innovation side, in terms of going, actually, if we can get to the point of fail,
Yeah.
we're going to create something beautiful from it anyway.
Well, that's right. And a lot of the research we do is finding what doesn't work.
Yeah.
And if you find what doesn't work, you'll understand why it doesn't work, and then you can create something that does work. And we, even just on our fabrics for our triathlon suits, fabrics have, in it for an aerodynamics point of view, they have a drag crisis, but they have a point where they're really efficient, and it's a small window of speed. And then after that, they're not that efficient. So we tested, hundreds of fabrics to find out actually what was the efficient piece and where didn't they work. And that's just the same as knowing what was successful. Like when you know what wasn't successful, then we could just see the gaps. So I'm a big believer in failing. Yeah, you have to. There's products I've created that didn't sell much at all, but then you understand why they don't sell. Then there's other things that you just fly. How did that work? I thought it was a pig. I thought it was ugly.
Okay, got you. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I think failure is massively important, and people can beat themselves up. You've got to fail.
And what I also like as well is how bolshy you were with the HUUB name.
Yeah, the HUUB name that was born out of the Rainforest Cafe in Disneyland.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I was in employment, we went away and I had an idea of creating a brand, and I was coming up with the wetsuit company and Derby wetsuits and all this stuff. I thought, why just call it HUUB? Having known Professor HUUB.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what does it mean? And amazingly, it means bright mind. It's Germanic. But it was a professor's name. So yeah, I trademarked that before I told him I was going to use it. But then it fits perfectly because the ethos of a bright mind being applied to different sports or whatever we wanted to was ballsy. But I'm so pleased I didn't know.
And what was that hardest part then? So obviously going back again, so you've stood in front of 12 investors. They said, okay, fine, we're going to give you £25,000. There's future money there to kind of help you with working capital if you make it successful. How did that all feel at that kind of point on your shoulders of going, I've got to make this work now?
Good question. It was dual-sided because there was relief. Oh, I can pay the bills. But then there was every morning I have to motivate myself. And weirdly, I don't tell many people this, but I went for another job even when I was going through this process.
Right.
And it's a company who make bullets in Birmingham called Ely. Yeah, I was that desperate. And they made bullets that actually killed animals in abattoirs. And they wanted to market it. Oh, God knows how you market killing animals. And I got down to the last two and they rang me up and went, the other person's pulled out. But can you just come back for a final interview? This was after they'd said they'd give me the money to go and live the dream. And I was still debating doing it. And I had to kick myself in the nuts and go, what are you doing? No, this is it. And it was just because corporate world's a safe world, isn't it?
Sense of security.
Yeah. So I was like, I've got the opportunity, but that is quite safe. And I'm so pleased I didn't go and market bullets, but it was...
It seems so far away from your
doesn't
ethos.
it just? Yeah, doesn't it? But you wake up every day and go, right, I've got to go to the bank and go through the whole process of sending money to China for my samples and being quite organised, which scares the hell out of me because I'm not. So yeah, it was elation that you're building something and you have the opportunity to, but complete fear that you haven't got a team around you. I couldn't walk into the finance department and go, what's our IBAN number? Can you send some money there? It's all on my shoulders.
And it's the fact you literally juggling all the different hats. So in that first year, did you have many team members join you? What was that first year look like?
The first 6 months was me on my own at the kitchen table.
Yeah.
And then I converted a small part of the garage to a room the size of this, perhaps a little bit smaller. And my daughter's friend, Genevieve Skivington, she was looking for an apprenticeship. So Jenna came in, who's still with us, employee number one. And she was great. She's just so organised and just process-driven and got stuff done.
Yeah.
And Tom, who was the intermediary between the investors, his background was accountancy.
Right.
So thankfully, I could leave the numbers to him and get on with my bit of creating the product, marketing the product and selling it. I was out on the road. Day before Christmas Eve, I was in Tunbridge Wells. It was really cold and rainy. I'm with wheelie bag behind me trying to sell my wares, which is quite nice. But again, I'm back on the road again.
Yeah, kind of going back to a different role that you'd done a long time ago.
When I was in
but
the
then
20s.
also carrying all the different hats as well of then going, well, I've got to market this. Okay, I've got someone looking after the numbers, brilliant. And I've now got someone in Jenna that's organised and can perhaps do that.
Yep.
And it's sometimes that scary step, isn't it, of going, actually, I do need someone to be able to help me do the bits that I'm no good at, or I need to delegate so that I can actually free my mind up to be the creative, the visionary, the ideas person.
And all that stuff can, if you get obsessed with it, that you can't do it, it just clouds not your judgment, just your ability to sit back and think. And, I was creating a brand new brand from scratch. I had to create a wetsuit that blew the world away. I had some new technology ideas. I had to go and research it, get it made, go and do my time in China, just go and see in the factories. And the last thing you need to be worrying about is have we put the VAT return in and all those kind of things that, just I've been there and done that and crap at it. But again, that goes back to, if you know your weaknesses, you can plug them. But that probably took me, 30 years of being in business to figure that one out.
And it's a hard thing as well, isn't it? Because it's actually making an investment in when you're kind of quite bootstrapped at that startup stage.
I was probably a year and a half in, and there was an enterprise growth fund.
Okay.
So we applied to it, and I got, a 100 grand loan, 50,000 grant.
Okay.
But what the grant allowed me to do was bring the people in almost before I needed them.
Yeah.
And so suddenly there's three of us, and one of those was in finance. So, got three of us driving now and knowing exactly where we're going and kind of at ease. But that was thanks to the growth fund. And I know, everyone knows I love Derby to bits, but I really appreciate the people who reached out and helped then. And we've been back for second tranches, and it's been fabulous. And they've had the money back and made a bit on it, and the world goes around.
So that's surrounding yourself again, though. It's kind of seeking out the people that can support you in that side, because I'm guessing they didn't come knocking on your door to say, Dean, do you need any support right now?
No, you're right. And, joining Marketing Derby for me was massive, because you just meet people and learn stories and anecdotes of how they've gotten in their business. And I'm sure you'll see as a podcast, there'll be some golden nuggets come out of it of, I never thought of that. Out of that came, meetings with people from the council and other avenues and the Chamber of Commerce who have been invaluable. But then there's other strands that you'll get help and support. I didn't know about Innovate UK and the money they could put into my MAD system, which is a system that tests as a drag on swimming. So that came out of just networking.
What do you think shone through in terms of helping you perhaps differentiate yourself?
Enthusiasm.
Yeah.
Totally enthusiasm. The investors, the Turning Point guys, the 12, they said, we love the business, we love the plan, but actually we really like you and your enthusiasm. And whenever I've worked with athletes in the past, they've just gone, Dean's enthusiasm's off the chart, which I'm proud of, because it does get you places and people see enthusiastic about it. And that's what I look for in any staff hires as well. If you see enthusiasm and a knowledge for the product and a desire, you're just warm. It's magnetizing, isn't it?
Energy.
Yeah. And I think, that everyone I met, it resonated and reflected back when we went for business awards. I had an amazing night with the Chamber of Commerce. It was Entrepreneur of the Year, Best Small Business of the Year, Best Overall Business of the Year. I mean, what a night.
Wow.
And that's just, I'm sure a lot of that was just enthusiasm and being super excited about everything.
I love that, because that's difficult as well. And it's not a very British mindset either, I wouldn't say, in terms of actually feeling like we can be that enthusiastic or energized by things. Actually, we kind of get stripped back and I don't know.
No, you're right. We do tend to have that stiff upper lip and stand at the back kind of thing. I think that probably comes back to I spent a bit of time working and living in America, which their sales teams are very different. You do want to slap them and say shut up, but there is a level of enthusiasm and excitement. But also, going through school, it's obvious now I was dyspraxic, and there was stuff I was good at and wasn't. And the one thing I was okay at was drama and art. And so put me on the stage, and I'm probably not best at remembering the lines. I'd much prefer improv, but I found I enjoyed. That's probably where Dino came from.
Yeah.
Was getting up on the stage, and that was just enthusiasm. I really want to do this. This is something I am good at. Whereas the mass, just terrible at. I understood it, but I just couldn't translate it. And English, yeah, forget that. Comprehension, I'm all right, but nothing else. Although my daughters are English teachers. they picked it up from somewhere, it wasn't me. But PE was fine at. But the things that I was good at, it was almost, I have found something, thank God, I'm more decent at. So I'm going to go all in on it, balls deep, because I'm loving it. And that's probably the same with this, because I'm so enthusiastic. And I've got nothing else. I've got to make it look fabulous.
And that, I think, is something we don't talk about enough in business, the relationships behind it, because it's hard, isn't it? Like, as a business owner, you're so focused elsewhere, and you're trying to make ends meet, and you're perhaps thinking about a staff drama or a product issue or a supplier issue.
Yep.
And actually spending that present time at home with children and family and loved ones can be a real challenge.
Oh, massively. I'm sure you've seen it yourself. But it's really hard to be present, because especially when you're on your own, or there's only two of you, and you're getting a message in. I remember one day we went to London and we're in Covent Garden having a lovely meal, and then an email pops in, so you'll have a look, and it was to say, we're holding back all of your pre-season orders unless you send us £250,000. And you're like, I thought I had a credit line with you. Oh, we decided to change that. And that could have been the business all over and done. So I had to get on a plane the next day to Hong Kong. I'm going to have a battle with them to sort it out. But it's often like that. And you'll have probably had it as well. How's it gone at the office today? And you don't want to paint a grim, it was crap day, do you? Yeah, it was fine. It was all right. And inside you're going, God, it was shit. And I don't know if I can do this anymore. And I haven't got the energy and the enthusiasm for it. But you can't, because everyone's put their faith in you. So you've got to put your happy face on all the time.
Did you feel you had to do that then? Did you feel like you had to protect your wife from those difficult
Oh, crikey,
points?
yeah. Massively. Because she was working, she was looking after the family. So you don't want to put any doubt, especially if they're not actually savvy on business. Because to say, I've got no money in the bank, but I've got to collect debts in of 60 grand, and that's going to fund, and I've got to open my ID line and stuff. You get it, and I get it. But they go, oh, so you owe the bank lots of money and we got nothing in the bank. Oh, it's cash flow, that's all it is. So you just have to protect those around you that perhaps wouldn't quite get it, and it'd worry them.
Yeah.
But I've learned to be a bit more open about that, but just try and explain it. But sometimes you can just see, couldn't quite get in, and then there's a panic. You go, no, there's no panic whatsoever. And we had post-COVID, we had an amazing time during COVID. And then post, there's too much stock in the market that everyone's dumping it. So we had to dump as well. And the margin drops. We lost 200K in 2023. And then you're trying to explain, this has happened, but this is the plan to get out of it. And then the banker, keeping a closer eye on you and stuff like that. And we come out of it absolutely flying, and everything's great. But you just have to manage every single bit of the narrative that comes out your mouth. You actually want to go into the bathroom with a mirror and just shout 50 times and stab yourself with a pen and go, right, I'm going to get through this, and then step outside and go, da-da, everything's great.
But that's lonely, isn't it?
It's incredibly lonely. Yeah, it's really lonely. And then I'll talk, Dean will talk to Dino, and we'll go, bum, 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 and what would they do, and what would they do? And then one of my investors, an amazing guy, Colin Maber, associate architect, done very, very well. And I go, Colin, I need a Colin coffee. And then we go to Costa over at Beeston and just talk it out. And you go, no, ignore that, do that. And you help, clear some of that out.
So you did have that kind of trusted board of people in a way, if we're almost kind of linking back to that, but there were people that you self-selected.
Yeah, and it's one.
Yeah, one person.
Because when you have a board meeting, you still have to make sure they're leaving understanding and quite happy.
Yeah, oh gosh, yeah. So for your investors, you don't want to be going there, oh my God, I've just been screaming at myself in a mirror.
Well, that's it. They don't want that, do they? No. And I'll confront anybody that says they don't come out of a board meeting and go, oh God, that's over. So yeah, the one I could turn to would be Colin and go, Colin, just, I'm thinking this and this. And go, no, you're right, or you're wrong on that.
And I guess if you were to look back now then, because obviously we look at the kind of the awards, like you said, there was 3 incredible Chamber Awards. You've obviously had the Queen's Award for Innovation as well. Yeah. And also MBE.
Yeah.
when you look back, what were the kind of the tactics or the habits, maybe it's getting out on your bike and getting that time for yourself as well, that really you attribute HUUB's growth to?
I think it's just being constantly childlike and inquisitive.
Curious.
And because of my insecurities, I always think that someone's about to do a better job than me and step over me and get ahead of me. So I'm always pushing to stay well ahead of my competition. Mm-hmm. So if they come out with something slightly new, I'll put my pants and go, I've got to do something 10 times better. And I'll go off and create something 10 times better. Well, actually, theirs is just a bit shit. And so I've accelerated again further and further ahead. And that's insecurities of just a naive me going, I'm not qualified to do this. Okay. But actually, I think we probably can. So let's just keep pushing. I sometimes think, the school that I went to, Norbaker, I'm sure anybody who's been there or taught there will go, it's not the best in the city. But everyone coming out of there that I know that are friends, we seem to be on a mission to like finger up to Ecclesbourne or wherever it may be. And I love Ecclesbourne. I work with them. They're amazing. But just that kind of, yeah, we can do this. Because a lot of people in Derby, their pathway's set almost. You might remember it's, well, little Johnny, go do that and then you're getting at Rolls Royce. And amazing. Have a wonderful career. Get a final salary pension if they're still around, and away you go. Life's great, right? Or it might have been Celanese, it might have been British Rail, and now there's Toyota. So there's lots of pathways set. I don't know how many from Norbaker went through that pathway, but I know one of the guys from Norbaker's designed the Doctor Who set, and he's done Star Wars sets, and he's an art director. Another one's gone and set up a business in Australia. Another one's a writer for Hollyoaks. And there's so much brilliance that's come out of the school, but I actually think we're on a mission to prove ourselves as well. And I think there's probably an Ulverston thing there. And I do revert back to that. And yesterday I was at a funeral. My friend's Darren and his dad had passed. And we're chatting, and he's now got massive contracts on productivity and process management in factories and distribution centres. And he just looked and goes, we didn't do bad with two thick lads from Norbaker, did we? And I went, yeah, we still see ourselves as two not smart lads from Norbaker. And I think that's a massive driver for me. I know my wife will go, that absolutely does drive you, just to throw a few fingers to the world.
Yeah, and that adversity almost that you had. So if you'd gone to Ecclesbourne,
it'd be different, yeah.
Do you think you would have ever got to the point?
They probably got rid of me because I was so thick. I'd have brought their grades down so that it'd have moved me on. I'd have been in the special unit somewhere. Yeah, it'd have been very different. But then would I have been so entrepreneurial? Yeah, I don't know.
It's a really interesting one, isn't it? Because you always hear different stories. You hear about perhaps the underdog side of it. And then you can also, you obviously, if money is in the background, that obviously can help you springboard as well and kind of achieve things.
And connections and networks.
But then you created those, I guess, through your career, created so many of those connections through doing what you did.
I have a fantastic network. Because the what you're doing and whether you're ascending or descending, you've got to be lovely to people, and not selfish because you never know you might need them again. It's just, well, they're on the same journey as you, and they might be going up in the lift or down in the lift, and you never know. There's favours you'll have done. I did 6 years at ASICS, and a lot of people would have got free shoes or looked after or sponsorship deals. But I know if I want to ring Ewan Thomas or Steve Backley or shoe designer here or shoe designer there, they'll go, oh, do you know? Oh, yeah. And what do you need? And that's quite nice, you know. And it's the same in Derby. I mean, Derby's a big village, isn't it? It's a big, you know. It's everyone knows everybody and wants to help everybody. It's
true.
Hugely.
And in a world where we can be anything, I guess that kindness side does shine through, doesn't it? It's actually, if you're kind to someone, it's going to reap the rewards. Yet you're obviously clearly know your mind, and actually, if someone then pees you off, you've clearly.
Have you had those people that have peed you off?
Definitely, there's been points which have driven me in terms of going, well, actually, you know what? I will do this. I will do this. It will drive me.
It's a big driver, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had people that have really pissed me off. And you just get on that, you know,
I can do this.
Yeah, and you're on that bus, you know, 55 mile an hour that won't stop, and I'm going to run you over. Come on, get out of the way. Not literally.
Not literally, no. You were talking about kind of some of the favours and perhaps the sponsorship deals. A big thing for HUUB, though, was definitely in terms of Alistair Brownlee and his brother, Johnny.
Yep.
And actually almost having celebrities endorsing your product before, the influencers on TikTok and Instagram now. But the community side's been hugely important for you in terms of listening to your customers.
Yeah, you have to. We should never forget that we're not here for ourselves or for our own business. We're here for our customers. And they are the driver, whatever they want and their opinions. And sure, you can shape them. You could say to the music listening world in the 80s, what do you want next? And they go, oh, well, I want a Walkman that's a bit smaller. They wouldn't have been thinking they actually wanted, an iPod. But you've got to listen to them and present to them what they need. In our world, it's very male dominant. They're very successful. They're very opinionated. They're very data driven. They know what they want. And if they're going to tell you. But if you can show them why you've made decisions and understand it, you've got friends for life from it. And so I do stay close to my customers, and I love the days when I'm in the office and I'll just pick the phone up, and because it's an overflow line, and the guy says, I want to speak to somebody. I want to speak to the boss. I go, well, you are. Oh. Can I? And they go, I don't like your zipper. I go, let me explain why I did it. And I love it because they're like, oh, wow, that's brilliant, isn't it? And and then you got a friend out of it. But going back to the influencers and stuff, Gordon Ramsay wears my product and promotes it on his Instagram just because I was asked through a friend if I'd help one of his charities, and I kind of knew him anyway, and we did, and it was a big punt for me, and he's never forgotten it. And then he came to Derby and met the students at Derby College, which is the best moment in my whole career when he did that. That was amazing. The Brownlee brothers was working with them in previous wetsuit brands. And then when the contract came around, the manager just rang me and told me how much he needed off me. And you probably heard the story, but I matched the best offer and then put the phone down. And then I went on, the boys are from Yorkshire. So I rang up and said, it's an extra £1,000. He went, deal's yours, then done. So it was lovely, but it's just been nice to people in the past that these opportunities come along. Comic relief. My daughter Ellie was so nice to the producers when they wanted something for one event. And then we started working with Professor Greg White, who looks after everybody on Comic Relief and Sports Relief. And now they came back to us with the Billy Munger Challenge. I'm seeing him in a couple of weeks for another challenge that's coming up. And we've appeared on, say, on Top Gear. Because if you're nice to one producer and they need some free kit, or they need to buy some off you, they just keep coming back because you'll get the job done and there's no dramas. And so we've had lots of influencers before there was influencers. Now you've got to pay for it. So it's a bit of a different challenge, isn't it?
Yes. You can't. I mean, that's how Gymshark did it as well, wasn't it? He used to just send his T-shirts off to huge influencers and see them. And I think, was it in 2013 when they were doing the triathlon that actually the majority of the first wave of people coming through were all wearing HUUB? Yeah,
it's a bit like Nike did with Jordan and Sports Illustrated. They took on Michael Jordan because they knew we'd get on the front of the magazines. And we were the same. We got the best swimmers and we could the best athletes, but we wanted first out the water. So the Olympic Games, first out the water in Rio, was wearing a HUUB suit, big HUUB logo, because we looked at the rules and figured out you could bypass the rules. And then on the podium, all three athletes were HUUB athletes. And now the very best in the world come to us and can you make me faster? And we get lots of airtime by selecting the right people. But I was talking to someone yesterday who says, well, if you give me the wetsuit and some bonuses, I'll make sure I'm first out the water in every single event. Great, no-brainer. Because that's what I want. It validates the product, doesn't it?
Of course.
No one thinks that the car that came last in Formula One's any good. Yeah. They want the one that came over the line first. So that's my tactic.
No, that's amazing. And so if you could give one piece of advice then to Dean back at Noel Baker, what would it be?
Learn or at least understand your numbers.
Thank you.
Because what would have happened with my first business, I'd probably still be there. And when you look back, you go, God, you were stupid. But yeah, learn and understand your numbers. And I would say, I know you're going to doubt yourself many, many times, but just believe in yourself.
And then because this is another side, what's one belief or habit that you've held on to that you perhaps wish that you just got rid of years ago?
Oh, you always think that the higher up the tree of a business, the smarter that person is in that business and the harder they are to get to. But what I've actually found, and you know, Derby as a community has helped with the belief of that. Actually, the higher up the tree you get, and if you can actually meet somebody, the actually more they want to help, and they probably see in you what they had when they started theirs. So, the belief would be, don't think the people at the top don't want to talk to you, because actually they quite probably enjoy talking to you, and you'll learn a lot from them. It's the people who are in the way that are the career climbers who want to get to the top that will stop you getting anywhere near that, because they're just weak in their own beliefs and they just need to protect themselves just because they're probably not good enough. I hate that kind of boardroom scenario of, and I had it with a boss. He was the failing, but he blamed everyone else. And then when there's none of them left, he had to go. And that just does my head in.
There's definitely something, isn't there, in the corporate world where people rise by standing on others rather than that lifting. And ours is all about that.
And having worked in the States, because they're also scared of losing their health cover, which is a disastrous thing. It's horrible. You see them, they just, the boss could tell you that, you know, we should all go tightrope walking at lunchtime because it's fun, and everyone would go because the boss said. And I just hate that.
Can I ask you some quick fire questions
Go
as
for
well?
It. Might not be quick answers.
They might not be quick. That's good. What's the best investment then that you've made, either money, time, or energy?
My financial director is by far the best investment I made. The very best came along because he just worked in the sector and with the bank that I was working with. And I thought, I can't afford to pay you what you were asking, even though he'd reduced his rate. So I basically said, well, you make it work. You go and make yourself viable and earning the money you want to earn. And it was transformational for the business. We went from, was it 1.6 million turnover, and now we're at 7. And David's still with us. And by far the best investment, you know, you could say along the Brownie brothers that the business has ever made. But that's definitely the best one.
What does success look to you
Oh,
now?
God. It's a weird one, actually, because if you'd have asked me when I started, it might have been build an empire and X, Y, Z. Success now is to be able to help my kids wherever I can, if it's with mortgages, not buying them, but just help towards deposits. It would be fascinating. I've helped a couple of them. And it's not been easy, but you do what you can. But success for me was just knowing that I could retire, and there's some help there for the kids and grandkids if they need it. And, it's quite nice leaving a little bit of a legacy as well, isn't it? Because at the minute on the marketplace, they put a picture of me up with other people that are pioneers in the city.
That, yeah.
And you're like, crikey, how did I get that? That was a fluke. And my grandkids went to see it the other day. Oh. And they're there, and my granddaughter's put her finger up my nose. And then they went home, and my wife heard them talking in the like play area, and they're going, well, Granddad is famous, isn't he? They go, I think he is. He's famous. And just to hear the grandkids, so I thought, isn't that lovely? Just that they'll be able to talk about Granddad with a smile on the face, and other people are like, I remember him. And I'd love to think that there's HUUB kit running around in 50 years, and one of them might be involved with it. Who knows? And they go, that was a bit of Granddad and a bit of the kid from Ulverston, really.
So there's definitely that legacy thing there.
There's a bit of legacy, yeah. And you just want to make people proud, don't you? You know, always wanted to make mum and dad proud, and and your family. Again, it goes back to, because when all you can really put to your name is a cycling proficiency badge, you want to go, I did something. We don't have long here, do we?
No, we don't. One life.
Yeah, exactly.
Got to live it. And then I think I might be able to guess what this is. But what's one line that you say to yourself when things get tough? Maybe not the swearing at the mirror, but...
Yeah. I tend to think, right, what's the priorities? And then you just go to the priority and the priority of the solution, and you just find out what's the one big thing that's stopping it happening. And is that insurmountable? Yes or no? Then deal with it. And there's some things where you'll just go, I just park that. And you can get caught up in it, can't you? But for me, as I've learned, and the level 10's helped with that, and I know we've only been doing it for like 6 months, is, well, can we all work together and break it down and solve it? There's other times when things get tough. You just go on a run or a bike ride and blow your legs to bits so you forget about it.
And so have you had a motto on people's business, like a business owner's wall. So if I was going to, and I'd actually really love to do that here in terms of having mottos that people would have to kind of keep you focused, what would it be?
If it was my own office, behind my desk, I have a picture of Richard Varga coming out the water first at the Olympics. And he never actually won anything big, but he was always good at his own bit.
Yeah.
And that's why I have it there. If you want the best at swimming, that's him. The best overall would have been Alistair or Johnny. So for me, I think if I had it on the wall, it'd be believe in yourself, but you can't do everything.
So if you wanted someone to take something from this podcast today as like a bit of a
Dean swears a
one-liner,
lot.
what would it be?
I think if you just, for me, it'd just be, just keep your enthusiasm there, because it will pay off. And, you know, there are times where you think you can't get it. Like when we came back from America, we'd lost our house in the crash in the States. We lived on a beautiful house on Station Road in Mickleover. We'd left, come back, and we were in rental accommodation. I didn't have a car. And that was, 2007? And you're like, I just let everybody down. But with just enthusiasm, passion, and just wanting to do the right by others. Because if you want to do the right by others, you do the right thing anyway, because you're looking after those that are around you and in your business or your customers or whatever it is. Once it becomes egocentric and it's all about me, I want to be a millionaire and this, and I think to me that's probably where it goes wrong. So yeah, you're going to take away is if you do great by everyone else, you'll do fantastic anyway.
So what do I take away from this conversation with Dean? That innovation doesn't always come from a lab. It sometimes comes from a kitchen table and a bit of fear. That being too old or too niche or too derby isn't a limitation, it's your edge. That you don't need to fake hype if you build something real. And that when you back your gut with science, magic can happen. Dean reminded me that success isn't just measured by market share or medals, but by the trust you build, the values you live by, and how much fun you can have while doing it. And that's what's beyond the numbers.